Welcome to Stunt Stories. I'm Corey Eubanks, and today my special guest is also a very special friend of mine named Tom McComas. Very hard to track down, very hard to get his undivided attention, but I've got it. He's with us. Tom, thank you so much for being on Stunt Stories.
Thanks for having me, Professor. This is awesome.
Yeah, that's right. You call me the professor every once in a while, and I'm like, why is that? Why? How did I get that nickname?
You know, I have never seen anyone orchestrate a crew. I mean, I should actually make it the conductor, because it's just genius to watch you interact with a crew. For example, Corey will know exactly what's wrong with his car, but instead of telling the transportation department what he needs, he'll say, it's got this vibration when I hit the brakes, and I don't know what's going on. And he allows the person to come up with the idea themselves. They're like, Corey, I think your rotors are warped. And Corey goes, that could be it. And then they're like, let's get you new rotors. And I'm like, thank you very much. That really makes my job doable. And the guy's happy and you're happy. And I just watched the whole thing and I'm like, man, that is the professor at work.
Well, it's kind of a win-win. The guy feels good because he figured out the problem, and nobody likes to be told how to do their job. And sometimes you and I both know, sometimes you have to go right up to him and say, no, this is what's wrong. But I appreciate that, because there's a lot of nicknames that you could have that's far worse than that.
Well, but so I just follow you around set and just take notes, because when I was in college, I took notes from my professors, and now I take notes from Corey Eubanks, because it's just unbelievable. Everywhere you go, it's like, what do they call those people that turn metal to gold? It's like you're like one of those guys. It's just like you just drop gems constantly, and I just like following you around and learning and watching and learning.
Oh, Tom, you're so exaggerating, buddy, but I appreciate it.
Oh, no. I've seen you at like 4 a.m., like getting the entire van that is asleep singing some song on the way to work. And it's like another example of the professor at work.
Hey, let me ask you something. Didn't you at one point in your life want to be a professional motorcycle racer?
That was exactly what I wanted to do, Corey. And then I found
are so gifted. You're so freaking fast on a bike.
Well, I raced for 6 years. I did win a national championship, but it all ended at Road Atlanta. And I went there, and I had a bank loan for $14,000, and I crashed at a national in Road Atlanta. And I left there with the only thing that was salvageable of my motorcycle, which was my motor, and it was stuffed into a milk crate, and my rear wheel. Wow. Everything else was destroyed. I owed the bank $14,000. So I figured that my racing career had come to an abrupt end. And I really, there's a million reasons not to race, but racing is all that mattered to me at the time. And so it was a huge setback in my life. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was dating a girl who wanted to go to Italy to model. And so we went to Milan. We were there for 6 months. And one day I had a budget of one piece of focaccia bread a day. That's what she allowed me to have. She was making all the money. I was broke. And so one day she came home and she's like, "Where's the money?" And I was like, "I had 2 pieces of focaccia today." And she's like, "You had 2 pieces of focaccia?" Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of dating girls, Tom, you have no idea how famous you are. I'm currently in Austin, Texas. And if you've been to Austin, Texas, you know that there are many, many bars and restaurants that you can go to. And I chose this one bar restaurant that was pretty close to my hotel, and could have picked any bar. And I walked there to go get something to eat and having a beer at the counter. And I'm wearing a hat, and it says, I think it was a Brand X stunts hat. And the gentleman kind of eyeing me from the corner asked me if I was a stuntman. I said, "Yeah, I'm actually, here working on Walker, Texas Ranger. They're doing a reboot of it." And he goes, "My wife and I know a stunt guy. His name's Tom. Do you know a stunt guy named Tom? And I go, I certainly do. I go, let me just take a wild guess. And I opened up my photos and I went to a photo I have of you. I go, is this the Tom that you're talking about? He goes, that's him. He was dating my wife's best friend and they were going to get married and he broke her heart. And I'm like, yep, that sounds like Tom McComas. But what are the chances?
It must have had me confused. It must have been a picture of somebody else. Couldn't possibly have been the Tom McComas that you're talking to.
Okay, maybe you have a twin brother that looks like you that kind of every once in a while borrows your name. I don't know, but I was just like, oh my gosh, is that a coincidence or what? I mean, I could have gone into any bar and somebody would have said, hey, do you know a stunt guy named Tom? You're world famous, Tom. All the way.
I'm gonna plead the fifth on that one. I think I don't want anything to incriminate me, but I've been looking for a wife for a long time, Corey, and I just haven't found the right one yet.
Well, you got to get the ones that are not married. So you're looking for a wife.
That was his wife's best friend. It was not his wife. Correct?
No, that's correct.
Okay, good.
That's
good.
correct.
I mean, I do make a habit out of not dating married women.
That's a good thing. Yeah,
that's definitely in the unacceptable category for Tom McComas.
Now, Tom, you are the epitome of a Hollywood stuntman. I mean, you live the life, you live the dream, you've got the personality, you've got the looks, you've got the charisma, you've got the talent, but you've got that instinct in you that I see in not few, but not every guy, not every stuntman that I work with. You see it in your eyes. You've got that look of like just borderline craziness, but professional and focused. And, you and I, you know what I'm talking about. There's the Craig Baxley Juniors of the world that are out there, the Lance Gilberts. There's some guys that just got that wild look in their eye. You have that, and you have that full throttle. Let's go for it. And you're just like, I mean, if you were to type into a computer, the perfect Hollywood stuntman, I'm pretty sure your face would pop up. It would be, because you're like, just, if they're ever going to have a stuntman doll, it should be made after you. I'm looking here at these credits.
Corey, wait, hold on before we switch topics. I think number one, it takes one to know one. Oh. And so I think coming from you, that's high praise, because I do think even in the stunt business, there are a select few that do have a fire in their eye that is instantly recognizable. And you're definitely one of those people. And come to think of that, I just ran into a young lady who used to work. She was directing a television show that I was on last night. And she used to work on The Fall Guy. And then she used to work on Dukes of Hazzard. And she told a story about Corey Eubanks.
Oh, no, it's all false.
I'm sure it was. But she said, because you developed your own harness. Is that correct?
I took a concept that somebody else made and I made it a little bit better to fit me and made some adjustments to it. Yes, I modified it.
Because she mentioned to me when you got in the General League, did those massively huge jumps early on, that, one of the things you had to overcome was the fact that this is her interpretation. And, she is a director now, and she used to be a stunt woman. And she thought that, the first few massive jumps you took, that you might have been knocked out a little bit a couple times prior to developing the harness that your bungee harness that you've come up with.
Yes, there's some truth to that.
She remembered you very fondly, and as all of us do.
Well, that's
you learn
nice.
And you've kind of taken that adversity and turned it into something that was really previously non-existent in the business. So I've seen your harness, I've seen it in action, and I have pictures of it, because if I ever need to use it, I know how to build it. And I think you've actually let me use your harness on Terminator 5, when I did a head-on with a school bus with Donna Evans driving.
Oh, and I thought you got killed. From the sidelines, it looked like you were just done. That was
was
a
a big hit.
violent impact.
I mean, going into that, I knew that if I didn't have your harness, the way those straps went into your helmet, those cables, and held your head in place, that I knew that impact was going to be violent enough to potentially break my neck. So I would not have done that stunt, at least to the severity that I did it, without that harness that you loaned me. That actually I think probably kept me alive, because that was a big impact.
That was brutal. That was a brutal impact.
The impact was so big that when the tail end of my minivan got hit by that school bus, the impact was so big it almost ripped the van in half. And then also the front tires were about a foot off the ground. After I have a still frame with the front tires about a foot off the ground from the impact.
I think we saw some stills of that as well, didn't we? Some still photos.
Well, I've made stills of the video.
Okay, because I know I saw those, and because you can't really get a full understanding of how violent that is until you see it, a still image of it, and you're like, "What the hell am I looking at?" You can't put a human being in there. Yeah, there was. Hey, so looking at, my God, as you're talking, and I'm scrolling through your IMDb page of all of these frickin' movies, dude, that you've done. My God. The other night I had on my guest was John Fraser, special effectsman that you well know, Oscar-winning special effectsman. And we were talking about Pearl Harbor. And you worked on Pearl Harbor. Do you have any story that you'd like to share about working on that feature film?
Well, the bigger one, the more fun one was Armageddon, which was actually my second job in Hollywood. And at the time, it was the biggest movie. It was the biggest budget movie in Hollywood at the time. So I went from doubling David Hasselhoff
on Baywatch. Yeah.
On Baywatch to my second job, which is doubling Ben Affleck on Armageddon. And so I just thought that's how it was, Corey. I thought you started working as a stuntman and you double Hasselhoff and you double, the leading man on the biggest feature film in Hollywood. I just thought that was normal.
And also you did The Perfect Storm.
Yeah, The Perfect Storm was interesting. It's funny you bring that up because that was the closest that I felt that I've been to drowning.
No kidding.
Like if they had not called cut, because they had, a dump tank and they had some wave makers and it was pretty hectic. And I remember thinking, like, if this goes on for much longer, I need some oxygen. I'm going to need some air pretty soon. And luckily they did call cut, but that was one. And, water's really not my thing. There are guys that are in the business that are watermen and water experts.
Yeah.
And I'm more of a car and motorcycle guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
above water.
This thinking to myself as I'm like, kind of getting a little anxious, thinking, man, maybe I should stick to cars and motorcycles.
Hey, what did you do on Coyote Ugly?
It's funny because the last time you had me on Stunt Stories, when we shot with cameras, I had just gotten out of a motorcycle wreck where a woman turned left in front of me, and it's the most common motorcycle wreck, and they call it failing to yield the right of way. And this I got caught on this one because there was two solid lanes of traffic to my left, and all the southbound lanes were blocked except for my right lane, and she had blocked the two lanes to my left as she was coming towards us. And so she came out of this traffic out of nowhere and pulled in front of me. And I went into her at about 50 miles an hour. And I woke up in the ambulance and I could feel the scissors going up my back. I'm like, no, because he was cutting off my jacket. I didn't want him to cut off my jacket. I'm like, no. And then I felt him go through the neck of my jacket. It was a little thicker. And he's like, what? And I'm like, don't worry about it now. And that had happened a few days before I was on Stunt Stories. And I've seen that episode, and I look like someone that just saw a ghost. And then
you were on something. You were on some pain medication or something, weren't you?
I don't think I was. I don't like pain medicine. I don't take my pain medicine, but I think what happened is it was just post concussion, and my brain was kind of the hard drive was just kind of getting.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were stoned or if you were drunk or if you were on pain pills. I didn't, because I'm like, this is not the Tom McComas that I know. You know, you seemed
Well,
like
luckily,
out of it.
it's kind of come back. I think. I don't know. It's hard to tell. It was when it happens to you, but Kylie Ugly, we did a. Buddy Joe Hooker was the stunt coordinator. What a great guy he is, and what a fun time we had working for him. And we just did a big old fight in a bar, and I think there were some female bartenders involved, and one of them might have kicked me in the face or something. I don't know. I was playing a cantankerous sailor.
A cantankerous sailor.
So,
no.
So I just remember Buddy Joe really from that one, and then there's just a bunch of dudes having a good time, doing an old fashioned fight, just being an old fashioned Hollywood stuntman.
What did you get to do on Torque?
Torque was a good one. I was working on Biker Boys and Torque simultaneously, and on Torque, I rear-ended a guy who doubles. Who's the actor? And this is where the concussions kind of catch up with you. Who's the actor that crashed his motorcycle and got a concussion? He's kind of a wild man from Malibu, and famous.
Oh, I know you're talking about. You not Gary Busey.
That's right.
Yeah.
Who doubles Gary's son?
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah, I think anyway, his son. I wish I could remember, but I was driving a Hummer and I had to rear end a guy. And we did it once, and they wanted me to hit him harder. So I hit him harder the second time, and he goes into a four-wheel drift. And we were in this section of the freeway that had just been completed. I forget where it was, but no one had driven on the freeway, and the freeways weren't completed. So where the off-ramp was, they usually have those yellow water, big giant buckets that if you crash it, if you hit the wall, they soften the blow.
Right.
It was on an off-ramp. And so at a certain point, there's the K-rail that separates the main freeway from the off-ramp. And I hit him, and it was Jake Busey's stunt double. But I hit him, and he goes into a four-wheel drift to the right. So the driver's side is going forward. And he was going right towards the K-rail, which there was a new freeway, so they hadn't installed those yellow buckets yet. So I'm watching him slide towards that K-rail with the driver's side, forward. And if he had hit that, he was going about 65 miles an hour. It would just be game over. And in those moments, my brain slows things down. And I'm sure it happens to you too, but it felt like a half an hour while I watched that car. And I'm thinking the whole time, I'm like, I wonder if this could be me killing that person, because he wouldn't have gone into that drift without me hitting him.
Right.
And I was terrified, number one, for him. And then I was thinking about, what are the implications for me at this point? But as he's sliding towards that edge of K-rail, his inertia was just enough where he just slid kind of up the off-ramp and just missed the K-rail. Uh-huh. And man, that was one of the scarier moments that I've had in this business, because you go through stuff and you're like, okay, this could be bad, but it's not that scary. It's just like, it's you. But when you're watching someone else as a result of your actions, and I did exactly what I was supposed to do, it's just the way it worked out. He wound up sliding up this off ramp. He wound up sliding towards that K-rail, and man, I'm glad he didn't hit it.
Man.
And I watched Lance. What did he do? I think he pipe ramped that Hummer later on in that show, which was an awesome job. I think it turned over 2.5 times or something.
Was that Lance Gilbert?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a stud. That guy. What an awesome man. And also, you know what? You mentioned Buddy Joe Hooker. That man's a living legend. The things that he's done, the films he's worked on, and first of all, listen to his name, Buddy Joe Hooker. I mean, come on. That's just classic. Hey, we had some fun working on Identity Thief. Remember that?
Oh, it was fun watching you turn that. Did you turn that van over 8 times? How many times did that van turn over?
Tom McComas, this is a show about you. This is about you. And what did you do on White House Down?
White House Down.
Or Star Trek Into Darkness. or Legends. I mean, we could go on for weeks about all of these movies that or the Sons of Anarchy that you've worked on. And
Stunts was great. I got to do a lot of motorcycle stuff on stunts. I got to double Charlie Hunnam a bunch. And when you're if you're doubling the lead guy, it's a good time. But motorcycles and stunts, when I got into the business, I'm like, I want to be a motorcycle stuntman. And then at some point you realize that that's probably the dumbest thing
yes.
that you can do. Because as you know, Corey, you're a stunt driver primarily. And if someone hits you and makes a mistake, they just bring you a new Ferrari or a new General Lee driving. And if you're driving a motorcycle and someone makes a mistake and hits you, like has happened to me before, I've gone to the hospital. And it's not bring out another car, it's cart them off to the hospital.
Well, it's very seldom you see a motorcycle with a full roll cage around it. You're so exposed.
I haven't seen that yet.
So you've been pretty busy lately. What have you been working on lately? Every time I was trying to call you to get you on Stunt Stories, you were busy on a set. The other day you were with Diamond Farnsworth and
another legend.
Yes.
That you're talking about. And the other thing about these guys, that once they kind of get to this legendary status, and it's not like it's an official thing, but it's just kind of, you just kind of feel it around certain people. And he's just a Buddy Joe, sweetheart of a man, no ego, humble, just a nice guy. Diamond Farnsworth, same way. Been in this business since, I think, he was single digits when he started doing stunts.
Well, yeah, and his father was a famous actor.
His father was a famous actor that got nominated for an Academy Award for his work as an actor.
Can you name the film?
It was a film where he drove a tractor across the country to his brother's. I think it was his brother's funeral. I can't. Concussion.
Concussion. Yeah, we'll blame it on concussions. I could picture him in the movie. Anyway, yeah, he was very nice man too. Very nice man.
Yeah. So I've been working for. It's funny. The last time I checked, I think I've done 122 episodes of NCIS, and I don't know. That was a while ago when I checked, but I've doubled. I think every one of the leads that they've had on that show, on and off. And now they have a new guy in, and he's got gray hair and he's got a beard and he's a little bit older. And they're like, Tom, you're the best double so far for this guy. And I'm like, I just kind of put my hands in my face in my hands, and I'm like, yeah. You grow, you've been in this business for long enough, and you're not doubling like the young male leads anymore.
No.
You start doubling a little bit older people.
It's so funny you say that, because as we sit here and speak, I'm same thing. The gentleman I'm doubling here in Austin, Texas, on this Walker Texas Ranger, I spent 20 minutes in the chair with him, putting gray in my beard and gray in my hair, and I'm like, I'm doubling the old guys now.
Well, you know what? I didn't have to spend time doing that because the gray's already there.
Yeah. I'm exaggerating a little bit because I'm kind of salt and pepper myself. Hey, what did you do on Mission Impossible? Rogue Nation, says you're stunt driver, 2015.
Mission Impossible.
Or The Last Ship.
Oh, Mission Impossible was motorcycle stuff. And we were out there. Who is the coordinator now? Wade. Wade had me out riding motorcycles, road racer stuff, and dragging knee. Like I'm really at home on that kind of thing. Just riding a sport bike fast, and
when you say fast, what speed when you were racing? What speeds were you racing?
Well, it's when I was racing. It's a good question because you don't actually have a speedometer on a race bike. The only thing that's important, you go as fast as you can all the time. You're either on the brakes or you're on the gas. And so how fast you're going as far as miles per hour is irrelevant. You're going to go as fast as you can. I mean,
would you assume that you're doing a $150 or what? Are you
I mean, I've been clocked just under 200 miles an hour.
Holy smokes. Jeez, on a motorcycle.
Now they're going well over 200 now.
That's just crazy, man.
Well, it's everything is subjective because, I talked to Robbie Madison, who's one of my good friends, and he calls me a crazy man. And I'm like, Robbie, what are you,
Yeah, look at the stuff that he does.
Well, yeah, with the stuff that he does.
Oh.
But, everything's relative. Like, I don't mind going 200 miles an hour on two wheels close. I'm close to the ground. So if I fall off, I'm going to slide like you slide into home plate. But if I'm, 70 feet in the air, like Robbie doing a double backflip or something, if something goes wrong in that situation, I'd much rather have it go wrong at 200 on two wheels than I would 70 feet in the air.
Yeah. Hey, as I scroll through your IMDb, I keep seeing these movies. I'm going, wow, you and I have worked together a lot. Identity Thief, Horrible Bosses, Fast Five. My gosh, we've done a lot of stuff together.
Corey, we've done a lot of stuff together, and every time, you know where I am?
Where?
In the passenger seat.
That's not true. It's
not true.
What about
We're
that?
Talking about live by night.
Live by night. I was your passenger, and I have a photograph. I could prove it. I was your passenger, and I was very, very impressed with your driving skills. What was that big thing you were driving? That old car?
It was a 1929 Packard.
Those things don't handle like go-karts. They don't.
Well, they had updated the suspension a little bit, and they definitely updated the powertrain. And there was a time where we had a situation, if you remember.
Yes, where I thought we were going to get T-boned, and you did that little wiggle thing. You kind of just like, I don't know, you cranked it down on the right, and then you whipped it to the left, like kind of kicked your ass out so that, I won't mention his name, but who came out and was going to hit us, and you just went, no, you don't, and you just kind of did this little wiggle thing. I don't know what it was, but you avoided us being hit, and I was like, holy smokes.
Well, what happened, Corey, is we were waiting for a delayed action cue. For whatever reason, we couldn't get one over the radio. So we had to get a visual signal.
That's right.
From someone who was in the crowd. And when they said action, the background or whatever happened, the person that was supposed to be giving us that signal was instantly totally obscured.
I remember we couldn't see him anymore.
And we were sitting right at, right where that car was coming out of the alley. And so as soon as we see him, he's like, go, 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 go. And Corey's like, go, 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 go. And I look to my left, and there's a car coming directly at the driver door, probably at 30. And, they have those steel bumpers, kind of not too dissimilar from like bumper car bumpers. And I remember, the B pillar was like a 2x4 with felt nailed tacked down. And so if that thing had hit us, it wouldn't have been good. And so instantly it wasn't enough time to think. I just mashed the pedal and actually turned the wheel to the left, which kicked the ass end of the car to the right. And it was kind of like a bullfighter, the way
a perfect analogy. That perfect analogy. That's what it was like. A bullfighter. That was it. And that big vehicle, like I said, it didn't respond like a go-kart, but you made it respond like a go-kart and avoided us getting hit.
I gotta admit that I didn't come up with that bullfighting analogy. That was something that you used on the day.
Concussions. So I forgot.
I got that from the professor, and you were blown away. You were like, Tom, most people would not steer towards the danger, but that's exactly what you did, and they just missed us.
But that's an instinct. You know what? It's a proven fact. Guys who come up racing motorcycles make phenomenal wheelmen driving cars. I think it's because you guys know about the, braking traction and power sliding and cornering, and it just so many guys that have Jay Lynch, there's a perfect example. There's a lot of guys that come up from the motorcycle world that the transition into four wheels in a car is just like a perfect, I don't know why it is, but it's proven over and over and over. Hey, what are you working on next? Do you have something lined up in your forecast, or are you going to take a little time off for the holidays?
You mentioned a guy named Jay Lynch, and he's one of my best friends. Jay, back in the day when I lived up on Beechwood, Jay would fly an airline called Tower Air, and you could fly from New York to Los Angeles on Tower Air for $99.
Wow.
I think he had to sit on a milk crate. But Jay used to come out and stay at my house when he was kind of getting established, or my apartment. I didn't have a house then. At my apartment, up on Beachwood, but we would laugh so hard about Tower Air. But Jay Lynch is one of the most talented stuntmen I know, and yeah, he does definitely come from a motorcycle background. And there's just, you can go from two wheels to four wheels pretty easily, but it's very difficult if you've never ridden a motorcycle before to be a really competent driver and jump on a motorcycle and really be able to make a motorcycle sing.
Absolutely true. That's so true. Hey, Tom, I got to tell you something, buddy. I really appreciate you, taking the time out of your evening to be on Stunt Stories, and I appreciate it more than you know. You're so fun to talk to, and I know we just kind of scratched the surface of your career. So, I'm hoping that you'll come back on another episode and share some more of your stories with us.
For sure, Corey. And to answer your question, I'm going to finish the year out on NCIS, doubling the guy that I've been doubling. And then I guess next year, right at the beginning of the year, it continues with some driving on NCIS. And then we'll see where that takes us, Corey.
Well, I can't wait to work with you again, buddy.
Thanks, Corey. I look forward to it. Hopefully I'll be in the driver's seat. I get to torture you in the passenger seat again.
Yes, I look forward to that. All right, buddy. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, Corey. See ya.
All right, bye. Hey, thanks for listening to Stunt Stories. I hope you enjoyed it.